Hello, my name is LeRoy Tyler. The program you're about to see is going to be based on a future program called Innovation Up Close. This program is going to be a process of showing what innovation is going to be like in America, how it can help people, societies, and communities. It's going to be based on our website, www.ihtb.info, Innovative Health and Technology Breakthroughs. That site deals with innovations where people have come up with ideas that can have an impact on the economy, on communities, and also on the health of America. We're going to show you tonight a couple of these innovations that you can see on our site. We're going to go first to talking about what our target audience is. Our target audience is the poor, the middle class, the elderly, our veterans, municipalities. When you lift those areas of society, you lift the whole country. So we're going to talk about innovation and how it can have an impact on America. Our first guest tonight is Mr. Bill Rigby. He is the developer of Green Air Energy of Texas, and he has a very valuable technology and innovation that can have an impact on the energy needs of the country, as well as the educational needs of our children. At this time, we'd like to welcome Mr. Rigby.
Thanks, LeRoy.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Bill, I want you to go into the information about what it is that got GATE, as you call it, Green Air Energy of Texas, started. And what is GATE? What does it do, and what will be the impact on the economy?
Well, first of all, we were trying to develop humanitarian types of projects, and funding is always a hard road to go when you have something good to do if there wasn't a profit stream involved. Mm-hmm. So we flipped things around. We looked at what were the things that would actually generate profits and create jobs and clean the environment and uplift communities in every single way. Okay. And so we started looking at renewable energies and looking at different innovative technologies that were industry changing, impactful, and actually for a lesser amount of money, a lot of times lesser capital, would increase profit margins for investors and for communities themselves.
I see. So. Okay, now the type of technologies that you deal with, what are the variations that you have?
It's a broad spectrum. We work with biofuels, and we're using completely green types of feedstocks that are not the typical foods that people will eat, so it'll be waste byproducts. Mm-hmm. We work with waste energy projects and technologies where you take the waste of the community and you actually turn it into both energy and into construction materials. Okay. And then we work with many different types of things like water filtration, where you can completely clean the sewer water and turn it into drinking water, along with educational types of programs and projects that actually train children to adults on how to do renewable energies and environmental types of workers, hazardous waste workers.
Okay, now we hear the term sustainable energy. Will you elaborate on that? What is the concept of what we really need to understand about that?
Sure. So back many years ago, the UN came to determine that energy was the way out of poverty. Okay. Basically, without energy, you will not lift people because you will not have manufacturing, communication, and all those things. So we looked at different types of technologies and what we could do to where we could save the consumer or companies a lot of money, at the same time put some of those profits that there would be savings back into the projects to actually help lift up those communities and the people in the communities.
Okay. So, now, when you're talking about, now I'm listening to what you're saying, okay, what is the optimum impact that you're looking for your projects to have on communities?
Well, it's an overall turnkey approach, and it's a cafeteria approach. And when I say that, each community may have a little different need, but they all have the same basic needs. When you have a community that has poor people, you have people that are unemployed, underemployed, you have them that are they're not receiving the opportunities that they could receive if they were presented in front of them. It's also people that are not healthy, helping them with their health issues as well. That all is part of this system. One of the examples is we have a renewable energy that generates power for corporations that generate power $75,000 and more a month. So with that, we save those consumers 10% of their power, and there's no capital outlay for themselves. 10% also goes back into the community project that keeps continuing to fund the community education and training for the people. And so we're not asking for government handouts at that point. We're actually doing it ourselves. And also what we're doing is we will be funding small businesses, helping uplift them, the ones that are in that community. So through small businesses, everything rises, from jobs to the turning over of money to create more jobs. So direct and indirect jobs, both.
Okay, now I'm looking at the need for changes in energy. What do you see is the climate that would open up the door? Do you see that America is realizing that we can't keep going on the same path we've been going on for decades? And do you feel like there is an openness now to be ready to receive what you have to offer?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, the green movement has been on for quite a while now, and you're seeing it in every direction. Some are more traditional, like solar and wind. And then there's a lot of innovative types of technologies that are now getting out there, from everything from waste to energy to types of technologies like I was speaking of. So yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. Now, one of them that deals with being able to transform certain types of substances to diesel fuel and jet fuel. Would you elaborate on that? That's a pretty interesting process.
So the yellow grease is what the restaurants and people can put down their drains. All that type of material goes to the landfills and just clogs up the landfills. We're actually taking that type of material and turning it into diesel fuel. And it's 100% clean biofuel, actually.
Okay. Now, what are the advantages of this type of fuel that you're making?
It costs less to make. It's 100% green. There is no chemicals involved in the process. And it's small footprint. Doesn't have the nuisance smells that a lot of other technologies have. Okay.
What about the problem of it being in a community where this being manufactured? Is that a problem?
No, there's no dangers to the technology at all. It has a completely green footprint, and the safety factors are way down compared to typical traditional technologies.
Okay, now I also I wanted to get an idea as far as another concept that you have called Smarter Schoolhouse. Mm-hmm. I want you to elaborate on that in detail, because that's very interesting what you've come up with.
Sure. We work with a lot of the historical black colleges and universities, and we've been working on coming up with ways to take people that are in the poor sector that need jobs. Either they have no jobs or they're underemployed, and actually giving them a career in something that's an emerging market. Since renewable energy is an emerging market, and the communities that we're going to go into also, we're going to be looking for employees for those types of technologies in that sector. It makes sense to actually try to employ the people that are there to uplift that community versus bringing in migrant workers from different locations. So with that, we're actually creating educational and training types of programs, all the way up to PhD programs that will be developed. So somebody that right now could be sitting home and looking for an opportunity, this could actually afford them something that could give them more than a career.
Okay. So. Now, in terms of the usage factor or the application factor, I'm looking at the amount of area that can be covered with the technologies that you have. I'm talking about wide spans from America, from Erie, Pennsylvania, all the way down to Miami, Florida, from Appalachia to Compton, California. What do you see any particular areas that might not be receptive to what you have, or is it basically you think across the board? No,
it is across the board. You know, one other thing that I should really mention is that we are going to adopt time banking into our systems, where people have needs, different needs, and not always just jobs. It's for everything from you need childcare to you need your car fixed, whatever that is, and actually people put in time to get something out. And we actually will adopt that into the community so people can actually help themselves, but also we'll utilize that also to track their community service that will allow them to get free education and training. So.
Okay, now where did this concept come from?
Dr. Edgar Kahn, he's out of University of District of Columbia. He actually developed that, and it's actually been working nicely around the world. And it's actually being done in DC at this time. Okay, so Dr. Edgar Kahn, now the gist of it, can you go into detail as far as what are the benefits to communities that would adopt this program? Well, it allows communities to help themselves. When they have needs, a lot of times they're waiting for something to happen. This allows every single citizen to put in and get out what they need and give their best skill set to the same benefit. Okay. So instead of everybody just sitting there and wondering when is the time going to come, the time is now. It's all about you giving a little effort and the effort comes back to you.
Okay.
So.
Now, in dealing with the Smarter Schoolhouse, that still is of interest to me. You're saying, how do you see it impacting the communities at large over time, where it will put a curriculum base there that's really going to have an impact on them? What are the timelines that you see how fast this could happen?
Well, it'll happen over a generation's time because children when they're very young, because these programs will be started when they're in grade school. I mean, some impacts will happen right away because as adults, as they're trained, they'll go to work. Children, hopefully what will happen is when these school systems adopt these types of programs, they'll learn every single year a little bit more and more until the interest is there enough to where they can actually, when they become in high school, they can go out and have jobs, helping to assess buildings and helping with the different types of technologies that would be implemented.
Okay, so you're saying that there'd be optional where they would be gainfully employable even by the time they get out of high school, even if they decided not to go to the complete gamut of going all the way through college.
Correct. Yeah, and the thing is that the children are college kids are the most underemployed people out there now. So more and more college kids are now living at home. Even after they graduate, they're in such debt that the parents have to take on that burden. It's the first generation that the children aren't making more than their parents.
Yes.
So this actually will allow that to reverse again, hopefully.
Okay, now what about those that have been hit? You're looking at individuals, some of them, their jobs are gone. What they knew, what they grew up with, is no longer there for them to even be employable. How do you deal with the underemployed, the unemployed, the older workers that seem like they're almost left by the wayside of the road? What will you do that also brings them also along into the mainstream of the American economy?
Well, it's a couple different things. If there are senior citizens that are past time to work, there's going to be within our system. Actually, there's a 3-phase funding option. First phase is that we go out there and we get these technologies implemented. And then profits come back from that. Those profits are now reintroduced into the community where they're funding these small businesses. And their obligation is, once they become profitable again, they're going to give back. It's all going to go through a nonprofit called Angel Up Foundation that we partner with. And what they will do is they will then give to the social needs. So that'll go to the nonprofits, will help, along with individuals in the community. There'll be programs set up to help them.
Okay.
So that's for that side of things. People that are no longer employed, that other question that you had, that are no longer employed, well, what will happen with those folks is they'll be retrained into different types of careers.
Okay. So, what is needed for communities to do to be able to bring you into the fold with them to help them in the area of wherever they're at in the country? What do they need to do to bring you in? They
have to buy off on what we're doing. Basically, that's the biggest thing. If they buy off and they will have to gain a partnership. It's not just a partnership with the city governments. It's also with the community leaders, the community themselves, ourselves, the nonprofits, and the businesses of that community. It's really always a localized type of a benefit and a partnership, because you keep it at the local level, you're helping the local people. When you start getting larger and larger into the government sector, it doesn't always funnel that way. Or the larger corporations, a lot of time their money's going to other places. You want this money to stay here. The more you turn it over, the more you'll create more jobs. So basically, for every dollar that you spend in that community, it's a percentage of another job that can be created indirectly.
And I know that you have some very outstanding individuals that are working with you. One of them is Dr. Joseph Whitaker.
Yes. An
outstanding scientist, research scientist, very well known. Bill, we thank you for coming. Thank you for being here where we can get the word out, what you're doing with the Green Air Energy of Texas and how you're going to be able to impact the economy. We'll be right back with our next guest, Mr. George Cole, the founder of National Credit Educational Services. Hello, thank you for coming back with us. Our next guest is Mr. George Cole, And I have a certain amount of pride in introducing this gentleman because the job or the calling that he has for what he does by his profession, which is dealing with credit rehabilitation, I had the distinct privilege of getting him started in this industry in 1997 and showing him the ropes. But what happened was he became so adept and so good and so studious at his craft that he's gone light years ahead of anybody that I know of in this industry. He started, he's the founder of National Credit Educational Services. This is an organization that gives workshops on how to deal with credit repair and how to deal with your credit being able to stand the pressures that you have in American society. It's like the expression, you don't go surfing and you don't go water skiing if you don't know how to swim. You do the basics. He wants the country to come back to the basics of knowing what to do so we're not second-class citizens in our own country. At this time, Mr. Cole, thank you for being here.
Thank you, LeRoy.
I want you to give the people your background of how you got started and what you went through to get to the area of proficiency that you have in being able to be an authority on credit.
Well, basically, I had a good job, worked for GE, had bad credit, and I realized that even though no matter how much money you make, if your credit's not good, you're giving your money back to the banks and financial institutions because you're taking on significantly high interest rates. So therefore, it costs you're making a double house, you're making double and triple car notes, you're paying higher for your car insurance, you're paying higher for your utilities, you're paying deposits for everything because of your credit. And so therefore, it takes away the money that you could be saving, the money you could be investing, because you're paying the penalty of bad credit. And so therefore, I knew that not only I was an individual that didn't have, less than perfect credit, but there was a lot of people out there. And I knew that credit education and the literacy of credit and then to be able to help people to restore their credit was a big need in America's society. So I left GE selling software, and as you introduced me into this field of credit education and restoration, I took it on full time.
What was it about doing this that grabbed your attention and made you so passionate about going after this calling that you have? I prefer to call it a calling. It's not just a career.
No, because there's a large segment of society that are financially hurting. It's causing pain, within their lives, within their marriages. People can't get married because they don't have good credit, and then they bring children in the world with less than perfect credit, and it causes arguments. It causes a lot of things within the family structure. The children, don't have the best self-esteem. Not only, sometimes it stops them from competing in the classrooms, because a lot of kids that they may be sitting next to have a nice home, could go to summer camp, can afford to do the luxuries that people with decent credit have. They're living in apartments, 1-bedroom house, when it's time for them to go to school, and have their father or parents come in, it takes away the ability for people to really be able to grow, for people to be able to start their own businesses, for people to be able to really fulfill their life, to see what life has to offer them. You're crippled with bad credit. It puts you in a position to where you cannot move forward, you can't think, because you're constantly trying to, basically just make ends meet. And so how could you ever go to the next base?
Okay, well then, what makes NCES and what you do different than everything else out there that's dealing with your industry, credit repair?
Well, credit restoration.
Credit restoration.
And education. Basically, what makes us different is that we educate the consumer about statutes of limitations of debt, how long somebody can harass you about that. If you have to do a bankruptcy, which bankruptcy there is to do, life after bankruptcy, or how to avoid bankruptcy. We teach and educate them on how the FICO scoring system works, on the behaviors that FICO's looking for to really get you the highest potential scores. We help to understand the errors and different things that the credit reporting agencies may do that could hurt your ability to be able to borrow. We show people how to get back on track, how to budget, and then the biggest thing is you can show them all this, but what I learned is that we have to show them the benefit of doing these exercises. The benefit is you can start your own business. The benefit is you can get your own home. You can get a lower interest rate on a car. You can start getting credit cards. You can start traveling. You can live like everybody else. So once they understand the benefit, or even get out of the thinking that they can't, because for generations they may have lived like this and it becomes acceptable behavior. So what we want to do, basically in our business is to, extend hope. And what we do differently as far as our credit process is, we analyze the credit report, not to just generically try to delete items off their credit report, and people think that's the right thing to do. But when you understand how FICO studies the algorithms of the behavior on the report, then what we more so work to do is try to reverse negative data to argue the facts that it should not be deleted, but it should be paid as agreed, never late. And the reason why we argue these facts, because number one, it's going to help to raise the credit score quite significantly. It's almost like if you have a D in chemistry, instead of trying to delete the D, but you lose the credits. I want to argue with the professor that it should have been an A, and get them to understand why it should have been an A. So now we took a D in chemistry and made it an A. They keep their credits, and it raises their grade point average. So it's the same philosophy dealing in the FICO and the behavior that's on the credit report.
Okay, so the question now, I guess a lot of people would wonder is, what impact could you have on me, my personal finances?
Sure.
And also, what impact will this have on the national economy or local economies?
Well, what impact it's going to have on you with having better credit, obviously, is going to help you to be able to maneuver, in life a lot better. And it's going to help you to be approved instead of denied. It's going to help you to walk in confidence instead of walking in fear. And how it's going to help the segment of America is, I believe, when people have better credit, they have better opportunity. It reduces people taking risky occupations, like selling things that they shouldn't be selling,
yes,
or taking things that they shouldn't be taking. And it gives them the benefit of how Walmart or McDonald's, a job like that can benefit them. Because see, what we try to teach people is, it's not about how much money you make, it's the leverage of your credit. And if you have a skill or a talent, you can borrow money to support that skill and talent, start your own business. But you got to create the foundation, because the other foundations don't work. So basically, we just want to be able to really, educate people on the credit, because I think the education goes a long way.
Okay, now it's interesting that you say that, because that's my next question. I've heard you make the statement before that you would like to have a process in place where high school children, by the time they graduate from the 12th grade and they're going to college, they've already have been trained in how to deal with the credit process. They graduate with a credit score of at least 720. Sure. And they have the knowledge base of how to maintain it and expand it. Right. What are your goals for being able to see this happen in the academic settings, particularly in the middle school to the high school levels?
Well, I think, again, because of the financial generational curses that people have, and feeling that, in some segments of society, they feel they can't be successful because they're looking at their parents, and different things, and the financial, rewards that they're not getting because of bad credit. A lot of people's minds are set up that America's tough, but I think America is very easy and to be successful in, if you understand the rules of what makes you successful in America. And one of the major rules is, get you some education and maintain good credit. And again, we have to be able to show them the correct path of what good credit looks like. And again, as we spoke about earlier, the benefits of having good credit. So if I could go into a classroom and you got some kids who don't want to go to college, or may not want to go to trade school, or maybe they do want to go to either one of them, or they just want to come out of high school and they have no direction. I mean, think about yourself when you were a kid and you come out of high school, what are you doing? I mean, so if you don't have no path, a lot of times you do things that is not a good situation. So, but if I can give you the benefit of, again, why to go get this job at Walmart to make $7, $8 an hour? The benefit to take a second job and work 20 hours a week at McDonald's, you got 60 hours. You combine those two jobs, you're making about $30,000. It's 60 hours a week. You're 18 years old. You should be able to do that. Okay. So now if I could show you at age 16, basically how you start establishing credit and how you can, if your parents or somebody in your family has a decent credit score, if you can, become an authorized user on their credit card, you just inherited 5 years worth of history on the credit. And then if you can go and get approval to get your own little card, to also to be able to use your own credit card. And then I show you that by keeping a low balance and keeping long history is going to help to establish you. And by the time you graduate out of school, you got 2 years worth of credit history with low credit card balances, and you may have piggybacked off of someone else's credit, utilizing an authorized user. So now you graduate out of high school with a 680 to 720 credit score. Wow. Then you go get the job at McDonald's after 1 year, or at Walmart after 1 year, you're making 30,000. You can go qualify for a house that you can get, rehabilitated, that may have been a foreclosure, work on it, pay $50,000 for it, but previously the house sold for $120, but because of the bad market, and then the mortgage is only going to be, $300, then we teach them how to split the payment of that mortgage and pay half every 2 weeks. That'll take 9 years off that mortgage, or even just get a 15-year mortgage and split the payment. You'll pay it off in 11 years. So by the time they're 19 years old, 11 years later, they're 30 years old, the house is paid for. The house could be worth $150,000 to $180,000. And now you have that kind of money at that age to be able to go out, and with a high credit score, you can borrow 10 times your worth. So if it's 180, they can borrow up to $1.8 million and do whatever they want to do, whether it's a trucking business, whether it's beauty salons, whether it's restaurants, whatever your heart's desire. So once you give somebody a path and show them how America works financially, then all of a sudden it opens up their eyes and they see a whole nother world that they can be successful in America.
Well, I'm looking at people here that are in economic development in municipalities, and some of them I'm talk with, they're saying they're looking at the idea of using your process as a tool for economic development. How would that have an impact on the community with that approach, with what they're talking about?
I mean, it's going to reduce crime. It's going to reduce a lot of these houses that basically are empty because of foreclosures. People in that community don't have the credit score to bring that house back up, to get that get the grass cut and different things. It's going to help reduce a lot of situations. And then also it's going to help to raise the appraisal rates in those communities too, because once people move back into these houses, take care of them, then it's going to create a better property value and things that it'll be more attractive to come into. And it just does a lot. I mean, it gives hope in the community. It helps people to have a better direction, a financial direction, and it'll help bring other people back into the communities because now they're reestablished. There's not any empty homes, and people are starting to feel better about themselves.
Okay, and I know that with the small amount of time left that we have left, about maybe 40 seconds that we have left, I know that you're looking at dealing with operating. You are a nonprofit.
That's 501c3.
Okay, so you do have plans for being able to utilize that to help people who might not be able to have access to the service end of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, we do it now. I mean, we do a lot of free education. We do a lot of things to help communities and help people to get their credit back reestablished and help them to teach them how to do it themselves too, and help to teach them how to get some of these collection agencies off their back who's violating the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, that's trying to collect debt beyond the statutes. And we also will volunteer some credit restorations to help some poor people. Well,
I thank you for the time that you took to come and be with me this evening on this program. We're really appreciative of the time that you spent with us. And to our viewers, what you've just looked at is a concept that we have based on our website, www.ihtb.info. Innovative Health and Technology Breakthroughs. Please go to that site. Our concept is we want to present things that will impact you. Henry Ford proved it best when he put innovation in the hands of the people. They were able to lift up the country. We want to put innovation that impacts your pocket, your health. This program is going to do that. We want you to be able to be on the lookout for it coming into your area, that this is something that's going to impact you. It's not just for people that are rich or for corporate America. This is for the average person. We thank you for the time that you took to be with us. We have plans to be of service to you. Please look at our site, and thank you for visiting us this evening.